Okay, so I've got a 2015 GMC Terrain, and what it's doing is the check engine light comes on when you're driving, and it will occasionally go into limp mode. The dash will display that you can only go up to 25 miles per hour. Our check engine light's on right now. I pulled codes, and I've been clearing them and seeing which ones come back. But I've got P0016, crankshaft position / intake camshaft position not plausible. It's a current DTC. Test has not passed since DTC cleared. I can clear the codes, and this code will come up right away. And then when I drive it, I also get, it's not on the scan tool, but I also get a couple more codes, 0089 and 228D. Those are fuel pressure regulator codes. You would think that they were completely unrelated, but not on this vehicle. So this vehicle is direct injection. So we've got a high pressure fuel pump that sends high pressure fuel to the fuel rail for the direct injectors, very similar to a diesel engine. And it is run off of a lobe on the camshaft. So the intake camshaft is what drives the high pressure fuel pump on this car. And after I looked up this code for the crankshaft position / intake camshaft position not plausible, when I looked that up, and then I looked up the codes that we have for the fuel pressure regulator, it says that if you have this code at the same time, to fix that code first. Now, another thing that this engine is doing is it runs good, but at idle, which right now we are at, let's see what we're at for idle. We're just under 1,000 RPMs, just over 900, which is the desired idle on the scan tool. Vacuum right now is at 20 inches of mercury, or close to it. But when I first started this up, it was a lot lower. The reason why I'm checking vacuum is because I'm trying to see if timing is off. Because when I listen down in here, when I first start the engine up, I can hear what sounds like the timing chain rattling around. There's a few different causes for this code to come up. It could be the variable valve timing solenoid. So we've got two solenoids here, one there and one there. This one's for the intake camshaft. That one is for the exhaust camshaft. This is a dual overhead cam, 4-cylinder engine. There's got two camshafts right on top. And sometimes those solenoids go bad. I'm gonna take that out of there and we're gonna test it to see if that solenoid is bad, causing that code to come up. But to give a backstory on this car, it had been at a shop. I'm not going to say which shop, but it had been at a shop for an oil change. It's only got 110,000 miles on it. Guy that owns it has never had any issues with it, with oil consumption. All right, so the engine went low on oil. The check engine light came on, and then he took it into the shop that he took it to that just did the oil change. The oil was low, hadn't been driving it very long, and they claim that this engine is consuming oil. Which, could it be possible? Sure. But what I think happened is they left either the drain plug loose or the oil filter loose, and it leaked oil out. They didn't do something right. They put it all back together when he brought it in and tidied it up, made it look good, and said that all of a sudden now it needs a new engine, which I'm skeptical as to whether or not it actually needs a new engine, but we're going to dig into this and try and figure it out. All right, so I'm over here at the intake VVT solenoid, and could be the problem, maybe. Sometimes they go bad. They're pretty common to go bad. If that solenoid was actually bad, I would think that we would have more than just the P0016, but I'm going to test it anyways just to make sure. So what I've got here is my jumper leads, power over there, ground over there, And then I'm gonna hook them up to this solenoid, and we're gonna see if it clicks. That tells us that it's most likely working. Better be working if it's clicking. I can hear the plunger inside of there moving, so that's good. At least for that part's sake. The other thing I did too is I ohmed it out. This solenoid was at, I believe, around 11 ohms. And I also have a brand new one here to compare to. They're supposed to be between 8 and I believe 12 ohms, but I'll just show you guys this. There's 2 prongs inside of there and hold it in place. We're at 10 ohms, which is well within spec. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. Come on. There we go. Come on. Wiggle and pull. There's our old solenoid. Not really a whole lot of sludge buildup on there on the screens. Not a whole lot of metal either. But I did see a little bit when I first pulled it out before I started making the video. I'm going to dig deeper into this. At this point, I'm going to take a quick look at the camshaft position sensor, which is down here on the side of the cylinder head. If that looks good and all the wiring looks good, then I'm going to rip this valve cover off and take a look at the timing chain. All right, so I found a problem. On the timing chain here, we got a mark. I finally got it to line up. We got a mark there with an arrow. This is very similar to the 2.2 EcoTech. This one's a 2.4. Got a colored mark there. And then, let me zoom in. Same thing over there, except the arrow doesn't line up. It takes a long time to get these marks to actually line up. But right now the chain is somewhat tight, but a little loose. And I've got a, where is it here? A push button hooked up to the starter. And you can actually watch this chain slap around. Okay, there it is. Now it's nice. Well, I shouldn't say nice and loose, but now it's loose. Right? That's a lot of slack in that chain. It should not have that much slack. I can take and damn near pull this chain all the way off the sprocket because it is super loose. It's slapping around, and you can actually hear it when I crank the engine over. It is not supposed to do that. And it was making some noise. It was slapping around inside of here. It wasn't necessarily hitting the valve cover, but I could hear it when the engine was running. It sounded like something was slapping around inside of there. Definitely is going to need a new chain, a new tensioner. I'll get the whole kit to repair this, take it all apart, put new chain and tensioner on it. And I might even put a couple new actuators on it as well, because the teeth on those sprockets could be worn down with that chain slapping around the way it is. And those actuators can go bad from time to time. So I'll quote it, see what they say. But that is definitely the root of our problem, because with a chain that loose, the timing is going to be off by just a little bit. And that will cause a timing issue with our camshaft, which our sensor on the other end of the camshaft is going to pick up. It's also going to change the position of the lobes back there for the high pressure fuel pump. There are 3 lobes right there. Right there. And as the intake camshaft turns, it operates this high pressure fuel pump, which is used for the direct injectors that go directly into the cylinders. It's a newer design. A lot of manufacturers are going towards this, but that would explain why we have the fuel pressure regulator codes and associated with the intake
camshaft position correlation code, because that timing chain is loose. So we're gonna have to fix that first, probably put a new actuator on it, and I would assume that was caused by the engine having low oil.